So I've been consuming a lot of content about media and art, and you ever play a game and love it, but then you see very few people feel the same way you do? The community in particular. No matter how strong of a will you may have, the negative discourse around the product is so overwhelming you question whether your own opinion is birthed out of ignorance or something else that you may lack. You can enjoy the experience, you can even love the experience, but without the validation and excitement from the community, the fire inside of you eventually dwindles and you kind of just move on. Now this could be in reference to anything, as I can imagine this feeling is something most everyone who consumes media about media has felt, but obviously I'm referring to the Microsoft open world car collecting grind fest known as Forza Horizon 5, a game that gets a lot of heat that it deserves, but also gets very little credit, especially compared to its older brothers. But I can say this game has actually helped reinforce to me why I was even behind the wheel of a virtual car in the first place. Let me explain. I am a Skyrim lover. Skyrim is far from perfect, and it probably doesn't do one thing better than any other game. Combat is clunky, graphics are outdated, animations can be hilarious, and the bugs. I can go on, but Skyrim remains at the top of the RPG charts in my mind. It's just the best. And that's only because of immersion and atmosphere. I know that's been said and repeated many times before, but it's true. You begin to develop Skyrim brain. You forgive a lot of the imperfections and you just vibe. Now me in particular, I play survival mode, which long story short, adds extra limitations to your playthrough like food and drink requirements, and a more demanding weight system, sleep requirements, require preparation for weather and elements, and a few other things such as no fast travel. Now playing survival Skyrim is very much different than playing vanilla Skyrim. Survival Skyrim, you must prepare for your journey, making sure you have all the necessities you need, weighing your options, determining if you want to pack light, giving you extra weight capacity to perhaps find provisions in the wilderness, but risks not having everything you need right at the start and succumbing to nature before you even get out into nature. Or you could pack heavy, have everything you need, but have very little space to collect treasure that you find on the road because you brought 20 cooked rabbit legs with you just in case. Vanilla Skyrim, you just collect everything. Well, not everything, but anything with the slightest bit of value you're grabbing, and you're fast traveling back to your nearest base, dropping everything off and fast traveling back to where you were before, and that is the loop that becomes constant. You picking up everything and then you fast traveling with everything that you had back to a base, and you stop looking at names, you stop looking at stats, you stop looking at anything. You might glance at the weight, but probably not because it doesn't matter. You can just fast travel. And so before long, your base is filled to the brim with booty from your escapades. And I'm not talking about Lydia. At this point, you just have everything you need to be anything you want. And as a young gamer, I had no problem with this form of attack. But as I got older, I realized that even though the devs had made playing like this viable and extremely beneficial, it did not maximize my enjoyment of the game. I knew what I was doing didn't make sense if the fantasy I was trying to create. Survival mode makes Skyrim a better game because it intensifies the immersion that is already inherent in Skyrim. Thinking about inventory, planning around, not being able to wear your best gear because it's too cold and anything other than fur would have you freeze to death, grounds you in the world and makes it a better experience. There are decisions to be made. So now we get back to the topic of the video, Forza Horizon 5. Like Skyrim, this game has all the tools to be a top-tier immersive experience that will be reflected upon years from now, and they would compare future open-world racing titles to it. But just like vanilla Skyrim, it presents too many shortcuts that muddles the reasons behind you playing the game to begin with, and you begin to focus primarily on progression and only finishing races in first and attaining new cars and blah blah blah, the boring stuff. The car PG or car collectathon has really shifted the focus away from the actual racing, and the focus now is where you finish, what checklists you have completed, and what content DLC you've purchased. And the game just hits you with so much stimulant through rewarding you with cars. It seems like after almost every race, it's just too much. It's too much. It's as if they don't want you to spend time with any one particular car. Like at this point, the super wheel spins are a meme with most people. And if you spend significant time playing the game, you have hundreds of these, like even thousands of them, like if you play a lot. And you don't even bother with it because it's time consuming. Like it's time consuming to open these things. The dopamine don't really hit as hard after the first few jackpots either, so what's the point? Like the super wheel spins feel like the developers like ask you if you like cake, you said yes, and then they just start menacingly shoving cake down your throat like Kathy Bates in a horror movie. It's comical. And that brings up one of the biggest issues with this game, and that this game is kind of annoying. Acquiring rewards is annoying, spending skill points is annoying, the characters you meet are annoying, the DJs and the music they play is annoying, and the whole vibe of the game is just annoyingly positive. From the menus to the color palette and the font, artistic direction, there's no weight to any of it. There's no conflict in the game at all, no challenge to overcome. Most of the game is such a breeze that any bit of challenge is misconstrued as inconvenience and is not welcomed by the player. There will be no patience to learn the circuit, and with the game's insistence that you always come in first, you will do whatever it takes to guarantee that your time is not wasted and you keep the progression train rolling. You're going to take a shortcut and move on to the next event. So what do we do about this? Now, if you enjoy Forza Horizon 5 for what it is, keep doing what you're doing. If you vibe with the game, I can understand, because if it's your first Forza Horizon game, or for some reason you just didn't like the Forza Horizon 4 map and some of their gameplay decisions, I can see why some people would lean towards liking Forza Horizon 5. But for those looking for a more immersive experience, I have some suggestions that I feel will enhance the experience and highlight the strengths of the game, which is the graphics, atmosphere, and driving feel. I'm reminded of when I first learned about point of view in literature. This was about 30 years ago, so I don't know what they're teaching now, but I remember being taught about first-person point of view, third-person limited, and third-person omniscient. I remember thinking, because I was a pea-brain little kid, why would anybody write in anything other than third-person omniscient? The narrator has the most information, therefore it's the best. I really did not understand the literature or art. Perhaps I still don't. But I do know a point of view change in Horizon brings it closer to what it's meant to simulate, the speed and rush of driving a fast car. And the third-person camera perspective that is often used by most players makes driving really fast way too easy. There's no mystery to what's going on around you. You are completely aware of your surroundings, and like guys narrating the books written in third-person omniscient, you can see everything and react to everything. Cars can race close, they can come up from behind, and you're comfortable. It's comfortable to have cars next to you, it's comfortable to have cars around you. You see exactly what they're doing, and you can see exactly the angle at which they're gonna nudge you in. It's a dance we've all done before. You don't need to back out, you don't need to give up a position, you just dance. And you keep pushing, and you see who can dance the longest before one of you lose control. Or you come up on a right angle turn and eventually you just go crashing into a wall, breaking up the dance. And I understand Forza Horizon is an arcade racing, but it doesn't have to be. So we get rid of it all. We get rid of everything that hampers the game and makes Forza Horizon 5 not the 10 out of 10 experience that it deserves to be. And the first comes with a change in perspective. Now we know the most commonly used camera is the third-person perspective. It is the most efficient, it does give you the most information, but we must abandon it for the more immersive, though limiting, first-person perspective. Driver is my preferred cam, but cockpit or even hood cam will do. Now this small change may be annoying at first for those who do not prefer this camera in gaming, and I definitely understand preference, but I believe given time, you will begin to appreciate the perspective change. There's something different about the illusion of speed in first person. There seems to be a little less control, the way objects move toward you, the way you approach corners, the inputs are the same, but something feels different. Oh yeah, and let's talk about the inputs. Now I personally don't think it's talked about enough how good this game feels on a wheel and pedal. I am not a sim racing guy, I do have a rig, and I do mess with ACC a little bit. and I'm absolutely terrible at Dirt Rally 2.0, but I mostly stick with the Forza series of games, and I have been since the release of Forza Motorsport 4, by the way, not Forza Horizon, since the Xbox 360 Forza Motorsport 4, which seems to be where a lot of people were brought, or when a lot of people were brought into the series. That is to say, all the complaints that the sim guys have for the series and why they don't take to it or take part in the Forza series, that don't apply to me. I can feel the difference in the force feedback between Forza Motorsport and ACC. It's just not something that has a huge effect on the decision I make on which game to play. Also, me and Forza have history. I want Forza to succeed. But I get back to it. Nobody talks about how good this game feels on the wheel. It is fantastic. It is one of the best console experiences you can have. It is one of the few reasons somebody would choose to play Forza Horizon 5 over one of the previous Forza Horizon games. The main reason being that Forza Horizon 5 is like literally the only Forza Horizon game available right now. So those are the two reasons. Anyways, the gameplay is amazing on the wheel, with some cars just being exceptionally fun to be behind the wheel of. I love Forza Horizon 4, but the cars, when using a wheel, seem very light and were prone to spin out. Four-wheel drive cars were more reliable than others, but in general, keeping control of your car on the wheel in Forza Horizon 4 was very, very difficult. Forza Horizon 5 seems to have added a lot of weight to the feel of the car on their wheel and pedal set, and they seem to have been giving you a little more leeway and not punishing you for using too much throttle out of corners. The off-road driving discipline is still a pain in the ass, and losing car control on jumps is way too easy, and it does become frustrating, but a bit of practice and you can minimize those problems as well. Now, playing with the wheel is not required, but I feel it's such a neuter experience without one. You can really feel that slingshot when you whip around your opponent using the wheel, and for immersion junkies, it's absolutely worth it. For those who don't have a wheel, a controller is absolutely fine, but I think with a bit of ingenuity and using the aftermarket. Now, playing with a wheel is not required, but I feel it's such a neuter experience without one. You can really feel that slingshot when you whip around your opponent using the wheel, and for immersion junkies, it's absolutely worth it. For those who don't have a wheel, a controller is absolutely fine, but with a bit of ingenuity Now, playing with a wheel is not required, but I feel it's such a neutered experience without one. You can really feel that slingshot when you whip around your opponent using a wheel and pedal, and for immersion junkies, it's absolutely worth it. For those who don't have a wheel, a controller is fine, but with a bit of ingenuity and using aftermarket beginner sim racing equipment, you can build a reasonable setup that will be compatible with both console and PC for like $200, $300. And the experience is worth it because you are set up and committed to perspective. We begin to remove all extra noise in the Forza Horizon experience. Now we have to talk about the Forza Horizon 5 HUD menu. Most of the HUD menu is completely unnecessary, so remove it all. You don't need the map to the left, you have the road in front of you. You don't need to have player names above vehicles. Who cares who it is? And the nameplate is just obscuring the beautiful environment. You don't need to know what lap you're on, what position you're in, how many laps you have left. None of that is necessary because either way you're just going to go as fast as possible. There may be some co-op situation where you might want to know who your teammates are, but honestly it doesn't matter. If you're playing in a public lobby, most players will ram you whether you're a teammate or not. I do like to give up positions to teammates, especially if they're being reckless, as the co-op seasonal championship completion relies on the entire team as a whole. But your teammates surely don't give a damn about that, and if you push them, they will likely push you into a wall. If you are driving a slower car that's not part of the meta, they will not take the time to find a safe place to pass you. They will run you off the road and then honk at you as they pass by. Some random players do offer great racing, but most of them should be ignored and forgotten, so no nameplates for them. And for the times you were racing with friends, it's cool to see your buddy's name in front of you or whatever, but it's even cooler to remember that your friend is driving in a white Quattro, and in the heat of a race, you better not forget that. It's a small thing, but it pulls you in closer to what you're supposed to be emulating. The only HUD element that's necessarily in some cases is the speedometer, and a lot of cars have working dashboards, so even the speedometer isn't always necessary. So the best thing we can do to improve the Forza Horizon experience is lean into its strengths. And that brings me to the final point of the video. The Forza Horizon series must allow mod support going forward. It is necessary. There's too much hard work going unappreciated because people do not agree with artistic decisions mostly made by corporate boardrooms. Artistic decisions that can be altered and enhanced if the community is given tools and is allowed to make the game that they want to make. We all want Forza Horizon to be a sandbox, so make it a sandbox and let people bring their toys from home. From the popularity of tuning liveries in the event lab, they already know community-made content helps your product thrive. You can leave the core of the game the same. The physics are fine. Even anything to do with the actual cars could be left alone. But why can't we have our own HUD? Replace the cheery, overcomplicated FH5 menu with a simplified, straightforward menu that could align more with our personal tastes and needs. Being able to download speedometers would be nice, but also being able to place them anywhere we want on the HUD would be even nicer. Complete story overhauls where modders create new, more realistic, less annoying characters and have quests and races with stakes and consequences. Let people download a mod that connects Spotify or Apple Music or whatever you use right into Forza Horizon 5 so that you can listen to the smooth sounds of Earth, Wind, and Fire as you cruise instead of having to listen to some annoying ass pop rapper talk about some nonsense. Give people the ability to create their own curated experiences in large portions of the map. People will do the work for you because unlike corporations who make these games, people have passion and they want to express themselves through art. They often see the games you create at a higher value than you do. Thanks for listening.